Right, welcome back to my tutorial on how to draw a Springer Spaniel puppy. I've had a few days off this now due to work commitments. I work full time, I run my own business, so that takes up a fair amount of time. Today we're going to look at shading the bottom half of the face here and spread this across to the paws on each side, and depending on time afterwards we're going to start on the ear to get all the fine details of that, because that at the moment is very rough. And the final piece, which may be on the next tour, will just be to map in the bottom of the ground. But let's see how time goes on this one, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to start off. I've got a nice dark grey, which is a little bit different to the colours we've been using so far, and that's because it's a nice colour to use in these shaded areas down here, where we start to add just a few little bits of highlights in. I've got a lot of hairs that are going this way on the original, as you can tell by the way that some of these are going here, but we've also got a number of bits that are spraying down in the opposite direction, just to confuse us completely. And we're just going to be pressing very lightly, putting a few little dark spots in here. We don't want to go completely mad. You can see already here we've created a bit of a contra-directional flow. And we're just adding in some of the directional hairs down here. I've already done a bit down this area here. Okay, let me think. I'm going to build this up a little bit carefully with some sort of various bluey grey shades. Really just adding in a little bit of hints here. Not trying to go mad defining colour. Sometimes I do this, these parts a bit blind because I haven't really thought about how to achieve the result I want, and sometimes I experiment first. So in these videos I'm literally playing mainly so you can see as we're going the sort of things that you'll come across while you're doing your own work. This is my Faber-Castell, the white, which is the 101. Just for reference, the grey we were just using, which has now mysteriously vanished, I think is here. The dark grey was a 181. I've got a slightly bluey tint to it, which is what we want for this background as before. And you can see what we're trying to do here is very lightly pick out the hair. Give it the shade. I'm not trying to make it white hair, just slightly shaded versions of the grey we've got on there already. An exception to this will be here. I think I'm actually going to put these directional hairs in first. Really light, little light hairs. I actually quite like the brown look as it was before. Part of me was tempted to say, well, actually, I'm going to leave that as that brown, but it doesn't go with what I had in mind for the picture really, so I haven't done that, as you can tell. Again, down here where I put the little black streak, so I'm just doing the same thing here. Little odd twinges of hair. We don't want it to be too white because a lot of the hair down here is actually in darkness, and so we're going to, any sort of bright white highlights that we don't want, we'll take out afterwards, one way or another. Now for the next part, we're going to want to add in some nice bright streaks coming down here, and we can't do that with this because it's a little bit too blunt. So I'm going to sharpen it as I suggested before by rubbing it on some paper like this. It's a technique I use a lot. It saves a lot of sharpening when you don't need to. And we just want to try and spin the pencil as we're rubbing. Also try not to get it on your work. And we want a fairly decent point. I don't want it to be too sharp at this juncture. So I want to be able to draw in these bits of lines that are going to come across here in a second. I'm going to draw these in a little bit more here. And I've gone a little bit too dark in some areas there. And just bring that down a bit more there. Okay, so here, if I just turn this a little bit, I want to be able to pull in the direction I'm going. There's quite a few little hairs that are just coming down a bit like this, I don't know why. Just a few little bits. Don't forget we've got some hairs going both ways here. And we're going to want to shade these back out again afterwards in hindsight. And what I wanted to use the grey. But isn't hindsight wonderful? Just want a few omnidirectional hairs. And again here, I just want to pull the odd bit down so it's not too even. The reality is, as I've said many a time, even hairs don't really exist. There's a general flow to it, but there's always the odd one that will go in another direction, like there is when we do our own hair. I'm sure you've had experiences when you're trying to do your hair and you have a bad hair day and some of your hair lies the way you want it to, and the rest of it simply doesn't. Quite frustrating. Certainly had my own wife complain on more than one occasion, as I'm sure we all have. Right. Okay, so I've got another grey here, slightly lighter. It's a 273. I'm just going to pull that along in here, along some of the whites we just put on there. Dulling them down, but so that the streaks are still there. I'm not overly chuffed with this yet, but that's good because we can do this in a second. And just blend it down a little bit with the tortle on. People moan about these things, but I think they can be invaluable for certain areas. So I'm going to dart this down quite a bit more. Might add some new highlights in and in a few minutes. And I want to add in this nice dark again. There's a few patches here that are quite nice and I want a bit more detail in. And these areas are really the brown colours. That we see in the other few spots. Now a few darker areas down here. This is the 177, a nice dark brown. I'm not trying to take away too much of the light. I don't want to put in loads of big dark brown areas because that would be not very realistic. So it's just adding in some depth really to the areas we've got in there. Might add a couple of little streaks in here. It's quite pale where there perhaps shouldn't be quite so much paleness. I just want the odd hint in a few of these spots. Let's think what I'm going to use here. I'm going to go for a nice light grey, which is this 230 down here now. That way we can pull into that dark area a bit without it being too bright white like that we did a few seconds ago with that other colour. So you can see we're adding this almost like a darker highlight. So it's not white as it was before. But this sort of grey colour that's really helping to add some extra depth here. Add this along in a few places really, but also the lighter the area, the less of a highlight this becomes. You can see we've almost got this sort of bluey grey look to it, which helps keep the background well within the scope. This part here, we need to do a little bit more work on it, so it's almost hard to tell what it is you need to do sometimes. But it's just to add this depth in, so it's not such a solid black area. Perhaps should have done a little bit more down here in hindsight. Some of these little bits here, these edges, we also want to add in a little touch, just where it's coming across. This hair that's going to come across here. And have little areas here that are going to catch the light regardless of the fact that it's in a darker area. I think here we want to add a bit more light onto it. You do have to be careful. I really don't like the effect pastel can give sometimes when it starts to look like grainy. That can't always be avoided. And I want to give a slight indication of layering. Which we've achieved there. It's only a slight area. Afterwards we'll draw in some nice whiskers that go across here, down here, really help add that superb effect that we love on these animals. They're lovely long whiskers. Again here, we just need a little bit more light in this area. Bit of depth there. Okay. I think we need to examine a couple of colours here and decide where we're going to add in a few micro hairs here. I actually feel like we can't do this without adding a bit more of the background bottom area. And then here, just darken it in slightly. Down the area of this mouth. And what we want to do is add some nice little touches here as well, where this hair just comes over there. That will involve retouching, probably from both sides a little bit. I don't really think I want to use a white here, so I'll use this, which is a 183. So there's a little little tiny bits of highlight to just play odd bits of hair. Worry about that bit afterwards. We'll add all those little fine whispery hairs on. I think possibly with a touch of yellow later on. Maybe this one. There'll be the odd whispery bit like this that we want to add on. Just trying to decide whether I think this colour will work. I'm not really sure. We'll come back to that later on. Perhaps this would be better. Okay, we shall see. Actually, I do quite like that. Put that there for later on. I think it'll go quite nicely down here in some areas. It's quite a bright orange, this is. I'll add some more. There's my nice dark brown gone. Probably stall oil underneath. That's all right. Just need a bit of depth adding back down here a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Right, Tortil, let's get some shading done on this horrible bit of paw. I wasn't going to draw the paws in, as you probably remember. But we need to have a bit of an indicator of it. So that's the purpose of this bit now, is to bring in a bit of the paw detail. just really blending that paw in there. We're going to have to do the same on this side. If I don't do it, like I said before, it's going to end up looking like a head, which I guess isn't really the effect we want. And I've been debating what to do with the foreground, because initially my thoughts were, oh no, I'm going to just put it all in this nice dark colour. But the problem with that is, again, you risk the floating head look. So we've got to decide, what are we going to do to make this look like the animal is on, I don't know, a carpet or something along those lines. Haha. So, pick a colour, any colour. Do we go for the sort of beigey look that he's got now? Or do we go for a nice dark one? Don't know. Conflicted, that's the phrase I'm looking for. We're going to add a lot of nice white hairs over here. And I'm tempted just to start on the ear, because it does frustrate me when I see it not looking great. But we've finished that area in down here now. And really I want to work this way because I'm left-handed. If you're right-handed, you might start over here and work this way. Some people prefer to not care either way and just do whatever parts. I've used a bit of a mixed method on this, as you know, to try and show a variety of styles and techniques. But for finishing off, I need to go with the way my hands work, which is left to right. So I am going to finish the base down here and work my way across. This will be for the next tutorial, which is going to be adding in all the fine hairs on the ear. So with that in mind, let's make a decision on this base colour. As you can see, I'm a very decisive person. Do I want to go for something like this? No, I'm going to... What am I going to do? What I don't want to do, I don't want to get too technical in this. I don't want to make the base of it look like it's something real. I'm not aiming for a plank of wood or some laminate flooring. I don't really want to get into the hassle of drawing carpets. We want to give an indication of some sort of ground. So, well, let me keep in with the brown look. That's a bit of soft pastel will inspire me. Let's see what colours I've got in here. So these are my Faber-Castell soft pastels. Sorry about that, somebody just walking in. Didn't realise I was recording. This is my brother-in-law. We have a whole big family, as I probably told you. So I should probably go and apologise there. He didn't know I was in here, and I kind of shooed him away. Colour. Do we go for this browny shades, or do we go for the greeny blues? I'm going to play it by ear. I'm going to put a bit of a dark brown down here to start off with. And then we might bring it up again with some alternative colouring, as we have done in a number of the other areas. There may be better ways of laying this pastel down, aren't there? I've painted for as long as I can remember that using pastels like this isn't my normal medium. Maybe soon I'll do some more painting. Right, so as you can see, we've got that brown layer on the floor there now. Am I going to blend it now, or am I going to add in another hint over the top of it? That's a bit too much dog colour. Let's try this one. See how that is. So we don't want that real colour there. So I'm going to keep with the brown, and I'm going to add some grey. We'll see what this transpires to look like afterwards. I do feel quite guilty about shooing him away, so I'm going to apologise. I think. Let's just start mapping this in first. If you want to create a pencil flow the way you want it to go, let's keep it going in one direction. We'll add some more dark down here shortly. And we'll blend some of this area a bit better as well. Again, we're going to darken this area here if it's going to be in shadow. We're giving a hint of some floor. I'm going to get my hand really mucky over here afterwards, which I don't really want to do, but can't always be avoided. Pit pastels, you can't do this with. Pan pastels will be better than soft pastels, I believe. I don't have any, so that's not going to happen here. I don't want to get too much pastel where that hair is yet. But I do want to blend a bit of this in over here because it's got a little bit of loose pastel on that, so I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to give it a bit of a tap. Not really supposed to blow it like that, but we have done, so now I'm going to wipe this off my fingers. Don't worry about the rough look of this initially, because what we're going to do now is get that nice dark brown again, and then perhaps the dark grey would be a good one as well. And let's give a go with this 181 first and see how that works down here. Not quite dark enough, I don't think. So we'll try this is the 175, a bit darker, without being black. That's better. We'll push all this back in afterwards. Just blend this out a bit. This is why I said before I should have pulled this down initially a little further. Would have made this area a lot easier to draw. Kitty's screaming away. So here we're not using the black because I think it's the wrong colour. Doesn't add the depth, so we're using this horrible deep dark grey colour. Horrible, I don't know why I said horrible, it's not horrible at all. I still wanted to go a little bit darker in all honesty. And certainly I'd add some more darks in there, so we're going to leave that area there for the time being. Add some back over here again. So you can see I've added a bit of depth, a bit of shadow here. Doing the same around the base of the paw. Then again, I'm going to come in with my burnisher, my tortillon. So there's a bit more blending. Yeah, I know I need to do a bit more work on this afterwards, as I mentioned before. I might even, despite my reservations about using the black, I'm going to add a little bit in. And again, this is just going to be very much on these edges again. Almost like a shadow within a shadow. There, I think that's quite dark in between these little. I'm going to redraw some of this in a minute. Some of the colour will stay from where it's already been there. I'm trying to make sure it's not a solid black. A very soft outline. There's a bit of a shine on here, which we don't want really. That's, I'm sure we'll work through it. stand back for a second, have a look at that. We still need a bit of black here. Doesn't really stuck very well. And then I think what we probably need to do is bring this up a little bit here. Yeah. Can always mess it around later on. That gives us that nice bit of shadow underneath the dog. It's a hint of floor without being heavily detailed. We'll add a bit of texture to it afterwards, but that's the kind of the look I like on my backgrounds. Very sort of old master world look to it. Over here we're going to add a bit more light, perhaps shade the light, go from darker to a bit brighter over here when we get over here. But I really don't want to spend any time on these paws. They're not important to the drawing, in my opinion. So we'll come back to those in a second. Okay, I had a 5-minute cup of coffee and a bit of an apology to the brother-in-law. And you'll notice I said a few minutes ago that one of the things about putting the background in, or the foreground in this case as well, the underneath area, is that we can see that this area here still looks fairly well lit up. It's not anywhere near dark enough. So let's have I'm gonna have a play now, and this might be disastrous, so bear with me. I'm hoping that we can pull some of the darkness I put over here under here without causing too much trouble. You can see I'm just trying to work out where these darker areas are. That's working quite nicely. I'll put in a bit more detail shortly into these areas. Let's give me some good nice bits of grey there to really work with, and a bit more detail. Bring that up on there. So okay, right, let's have a look. I think we want a fairly decent depth of grey, so let's pull out what we've got here. Is there any more under there? No. That's my darkest one, so we've got a 181, a 275, 181, 275, and a 181, 273 and 233, dear me. I'll get there in a minute. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to, once again, carry on this hair direction, and I'm really going to darken this up now. Might reblend this again as we go. The nice thing is that the white shows through a little bit and adds in the depth that we've got already without taking too much away. Remember, the piece I'm working from, the reference picture is very blurred in this area, so some of this is purely guesswork. I think we want a bit more coming up here, to be honest. Not too much. Looking quite nicely there. A bit more dark in here. This grey colour's quite nice actually, it's working rather well. I definitely want to add some dark spots in here. We know they're there anyway because they're there on the reference. That's quite nice there, Nate. Leaving this in, going over the white and some of the darker areas again down this corner here. We've still got that nice hint of brown from the paper coming through, but we're just adding in the shadows. Not to go too mad, but I think the shadows are really helping, and you can see what you're doing because you've added that darker in underneath there. You've got a real good idea then of why it's important to add those parts in. Because before we put the background in, we filled all this in, thought it looked nice, and in fact it was the wrong colour. Far, far too light. I think some people will leave that and not really have much idea what to do about it. So hopefully that's giving you an indication of what can happen if you try doing too much of one area before you finish some of the other parts that are quite important. There we go. I like to stand up and sometimes and just have a quick gander backwards just to see where I'm up to. And I want a bit more light hair coming in here, I think. I want to put in a couple of sort of dark flecks and up a bit there. We do have a sort of a layer there to put in. So now we want in this now a couple of smaller highlights, not great big ones, just odd little flicks. As you can see, I'm just having someone suggested these were the hairs that are barely their hairs, and that's a fairly good way of describing these. They're odd little bits, they don't quite go in the direction, but they're there, and so we have to sort of indicate them a bit. Now I want a nice pale grey. This is a 270, I'm not really sure what colour this is, to be honest with it, but I'm going to give it a go. Just for a couple of little spots here. And it is lightly pressing with this, because what we don't want is great big bright white hairs, but just want very slight indications of odd bits. I want to add this a little bit more here. Brings out the odd flickers of hairs and helps blend the dark into the light a bit without being too much. It's a little bit better. I'm still not brilliantly happy with this area here. It probably is just a bit of trial and error, trying to get the angles and the depth right. Yeah, I've got a bit of a cough coming on by the look of it. There's been a horrible flu bug going around recently, and judging by my throat today, I may be succumbing to it, so I hope not, because that'll scupper me doing any more videos for the week, and my next one's a portrait. I've actually got a commission possibly coming up, which is a family, which would be an interesting one to do a tutorial on, if I choose to. A number of people have asked me for a tutorial on doing people portraits, so that could be the opportunity we need. And there are some odd bits here. Just sort of want those stray bits in, but we don't want to go too mad with them. Quite like that. We may have to come back to that area a bit later on and just rework it in a couple of spots. And like with any piece, you'll be drawing away and you'll notice some areas that you think, oh, hang on, I want to change this bit of shape or that bit of shape. It's normal. And it's all part of the process, so don't beat yourself up over it if you see bits afterwards that you think, oh, I want to make a few changes. Nice. So that light grey colour I used before was a 270 down here. I do actually really like the way that's pulled in these few wisps of hair down here. I might use that again in a couple of places. And we had in the old whiskers. It's really good for pulling in the odd hairs that aren't quite lit up, and they are there. As you can see, I'm just going to rework once again this area here. Very, very lightly, because the hairs are there, of that there's no doubt, but they're quite heavily in the shadow. The boy is asking me for a piece of cake, which is all good timing.
How do you do? Piece of cake.
A piece of cake, okay.
Yeah.
I'll get you on in a second. I'm just doing a little video.
Daddy, why you got wipes? Oh no.
Well, I've got wipes on here.
Yeah.
I've got wipes because my hands get mucky, look. And I have to keep them clean, otherwise I smudge all over my drawing.
Well, why do you want them?
Why am I drawing him?
Yeah.
Because he's cute.
Daddy.
I think that's a question a lot of people get asked is, why are you doing this drawing or that drawing, or what inspired you? Sometimes you just see something you want to draw.
Daddy, what are those? Daddy. What are those two race ones?
Actually, there's quite a few little...
Daddy, what are those two race ones?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, Romeo. Rio? No, so many kids I don't even know what the names are anymore.
No.
No, I don't know. There we go.
Why? Daddy, you that one.
Just a couple of highlights. Yeah, just looking at odd hairs, keeps a little bit of depth in there. Part of me thinks I shouldn't have added that orange in. Not the orange that I did add in. This one's a far more accurate
Daddy, where you got that pan?
orange.
Daddy,
But a bit of
there's
depth.
4 and
Doesn't
2,
it?
3 ones. That one makes that one left. Daddy.
Not keen on all this white here. So, where this white is, I'm going to choose carefully.
Daddy, where you got that?
And I'm going to pull this just along the edge of the white.
What is that? Daddy, what is
It's easy when you're doing your highlights to get carried away with some of these pots.
What are that? Daddy, what is that, Daddy?
I'm saying all this, but we do want this sort of colour on these edges. Just don't want it to appear quite so white. Back with my black, which I hate. So you'll notice whenever I put a bit of black on, I'll try and overlay it with another colour as well, so that we're not getting loads of horrible dark hairs. Use a tortoise on a little bit. Bear with me, I was going to shut that door because it's making a lot of noise. Don't like what I've done to that. Yeah, that orangey colour has really changed that shade of drawing there, I think. But I also don't think there's an awful lot I can do at this point. That's really the colour we wanted. Very easy. Pick up the wrong shade and add it in. This is one of the nice things about seeing a piece being done, is seeing how easy it is to make a mistake and what might be necessary to correct it. If there's a bit of that colour left underneath, it's not going to upset me too much. It adds to the depth. And then I want to... I do wonder if, actually, this sort of fleshy colour might be good for these all the highlighted hairs. Does seem to work well on a lot of the images. This is a 132, which is a skin tone colour. And it can really works well with so many different colours, just to pick out odd little areas of highlight. A big dark patch there which isn't really there. That's a bit better. Still want a bit more dark in here. If you go too mad, leave a line, which will indeed look ugly. And then we'll just push that a little bit, as we have done in other areas. There we are. Oh, far too many pencils on my desk at any one time. Where's that? Done again. And again here I'm going to just do a bit more, just to separate that bit of jaw off there. There we go. This might look right when it's got the whisker going across it, but that's going to be one of the last areas that we do, the whiskers. Oh. Okay, I quite like the look of that face there. So now we want to just try and, oh dear me, these bloody pencils. Starting to get on my nerves a bit now. Now these paws are very dark. And personally I'd rather keep them in the dark. I'm using black again. Maybe I should just not say anything about the black in future. Don't use the black, don't use the black. It takes away the depth. And all those sorts of comments you've heard me making. But here I am again. using the till on quite a bit here to get the base fur shadows looking nice. And then really we want to go back to not using the white, but using one of the greys. So let's make sure we've got the greys that I wanted before. Let's use the 273 initially. Just something about this whole area here. Can you actually see what I'm working on? I hope so. I think, even though I've got that nice pink there, that pink really does darken in here, so that tiny bit of a pink pull there. Oh, there he shows up. Bet my pastels are going to be no good after this. I'm not used to working on a table like this as such, so. Stay. Right, I'm going to move this way, and again because I want to very carefully be drawing hairs down here. So we're not eradicating the hairs, not trying to make out they're not there. We're just oh, I so didn't want to do this. add some dark again back into that into this toe here. The bottom of the toe really does blend into the background. There should be more toe over here, but I don't want to spend ages putting this part in. Not sure what to do with this area. It's rather brighter than I intended it to be. Ooh. Try to make that look a bit patchy, partly on purpose. Adding a few hints of hairs. You might see. Okay, I quite like that. I'm tempted just to leave that bit here. Maybe a few just very slight highlights to show that something is here, but I don't want to draw that part in, and I don't think I need to, so I like that. It's hinting at it without being a really horrible detailed paw that you can't even see on your original drawing, so it's a good way of getting around it, I think. Okay, now this area here, as you might guess, again it's too light. Sometimes you can see it and sometimes you can't see it straight away. So I'm just gonna once again add some black under here and just pull it up a bit. There we go. Just takes it down a little bit. Am I happy with that? I wonder. Yeah. Okay, so I quite like that part there. So the next part, now that we've finished this particular area, is to finish that here. So that'll be part 8, I think. And for now, that's the end of this one. I hope you've enjoyed it. A bit of toing and froing, a bit of messing around, but I think we've got there in the end. And we'll add all the little finishing touches up on the next one as well, hopefully. Thank you for watching.